presentation is for informational purposes and is not legal advice, as every claim is different. Viewing this presentation does not form an agent-client relationship with Carmella George of Jacksonville Veterans Disability Services. If you have specific questions regarding your claim, consult with an accredited Veterans VSO agent or attorney. Hi guys, I am Carmella George, VA Accredited Claims Agent, here to take some of your questions tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Know some of you are preparing for tomorrow. Others have some free time. I don't have to cook, so I have free time. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Happy holidays to you. Let's see, happy holidays. Let's see, you don't hear sound. Audio. How about now? Can you hear me now? Awesome, y'all can hear me. Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. I was just telling everybody I'm so thankful I don't have to cook for Thanksgiving, so I get to be here with you all. I mean, I'm not cooking a thing. I'm just going to eat. Hello from Minnesota. Hello from North Carolina. Hey, Tennessee. Locumby, Louisiana. I've never heard of that. Wow. Okay, so we have a question here. I received my proposed rating. I retired Friday. Congratulations on your retirement. At what point will I have the final say? You have the final say as soon as the day after your retirement, as soon as you get your rating. You can apply for increase or appeal anything that you think was not right if you did not get 100%. But even if you get 100%, you can still appeal. But I mean, you have the final say until eternity because you can keep filing claims as long as you want to. So at the point, the day after your retirement is when you start having some say in your VA claim. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. To propose was 100% P&T. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome that you got that off the bat. It's much easier to get that up front than to fight after the fact. So it's great that they have proposed 100% P&T. Doesn't sound like there's much that you need to do. Is it a good move to call the White House or get a congressional representative involved in claims issues? Thanks. The White House hotline is a tool that I used earlier rather than later for immediate issues that come up. But getting a congressional representative sometimes just puts you in a lane, in a stack, in a lane all by itself that you get behind others, whereas you basically don't want to be there unless you have to. And so sometimes getting a congressional representative involved takes longer, but I do use it sometimes as a tool of last resort when I just can't get the VA to listen otherwise and I need to send a message. So I would use the White House hotline first and then maybe the congressional representative later. But however you can get the VA's attention, get it. How likely is that to stick? As long as you don't touch it, it will stick forever. If you don't open it back up, you don't have the potential for reduction. So because you're PMT, you're not scheduled for any future exams, so it will stick for a long time, for the rest of your life. I am service connected for sinusitis, also rhinitis, asthma, and sleep apnea. Want to link headaches, which I have a diagnosis for. Which service connected condition is best to link headaches to? All three of them. I would try for all three of them at once. You don't have to do one or the other. Apply for all three of them. Apply for headache secondary to sinusitis, headache secondary to rhinitis, and a headache secondary to sleep apnea, and let the examiner decide. But I see it a lot of times secondary to sinusitis and allergic rhinitis and asthma. So, I mean, all four of them. Claim it secondary to all four of them and let the examiner decide. I don't know how I missed asthma there. When will you get your rating? After your actual retirement date? It just depends on when you started the process, but most people get it after their retirement date, but some people do get a proposed rating before. But yes, eventually you will get your rating after you retire. Carmella, could you please explain what a VSR does? So there's VSRs and then there's RVSRs. A VSR is a veteran service representative. They sort of prep the claim for the rater. RVSR is a rating service representative. So the people that first see your claim when it comes in and decide what to do with it are VSRs, veteran service representatives. They decide whether to send it for an exam or whether you filled out a form wrong or something like that. And then the people that rate the claim are RVSRs, rating veteran service representatives. I have a question. I'm service connected for my right hip, got out 5 years ago, but my left hip gives me a lot of issues now as well. How do I go about filing for my other hip even though it's not technically service connected? It's a bilateral issue, I believe. I haven't gone to a doctor for it at all. Secondary. Secondary service connection is the route that you need to go. Simply claim your left hip secondary to your right hip and make sure you do it specifically as secondary or it will get kicked back because you probably don't have any records for your left hip. So secondary service connection is when a service connected condition causes another condition, causes or contributes to another condition. And so it sounds like exactly what you have. Yes, it's a bilateral issue. So if you get both of them, the bilateral factor will come into play, but you just want to claim your left hip secondary to your right hip. I was a VSO in Los Angeles for 30 years. Oh, awesome. That's great. I love the job you're doing. You're welcome. Thank you, sir or ma'am. New here. Where are you located? Are you a VSR? I am a VA accredited claims agent. And what that means is that I'm individually accredited to present, prepare, and prosecute claims before the Department of Veterans Affairs. Much like a VSO is accredited, but they're accredited as groups like the DAV, VFW, American Legion, groups like that are accredited as an organization. I'm accredited as an individual. And so, much like a lawyer is. And so, I'm located by Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I love it here. Hopefully that answers your question. I was granted 100% special compensation. However, it isn't P&T. Should I just wait till the next appointment or should I submit for unemployability? Well, technically, you can submit for unemployability if you want to get the educational benefits and things like that. Or you could submit to make it P&T. You just need to find out what condition is scheduled for future appointments and then ask for that condition to become permanent, and they'll go ahead and give you another exam for that condition. That's probably the route you want to take, because either with asking for P&T or unemployability, you're going to get another exam. And unemployability, you might get another exam for everything, whereas just requesting P&T, you're only going to get an exam for the condition that's not permanent, that's not considered static. And so you want to get your rating code sheet, find out what's not static, and ask for that condition to become permanent by filing a 526EZ, the original application for benefits, and just requesting P&T for that condition only. If the VA has contacted me for my 5-year reevaluation and I have not gone to appointment because I'm trying to get documents in place to show that my condition has gotten worse, will they drop my disability because I'm taking too long to go to my appointment? Not if they haven't canceled your appointment, but you do need to make that appointment. At the point that they have scheduled an appointment, it's probably too late to submit documents because they won't get before the examiner unless you take them into the examiner. So what you need to do is go ahead and attend that appointment, and kind of worry about the documents afterwards. But you do need to attend the appointment that the VA has scheduled you for, or they will lower your rating. I did a congressional because I was denied PTSD 4 times with a diagnosis from VA and personal psychologist. The claim is now at a higher level. Was that a good idea? It sounds like it worked out for you. If they got it to a higher level review, or at a higher level within the regional office, that congressional did its job. So hopefully it turns out in your favor, and they turned that around. But yes, getting somebody, if you did a congressional and you've gotten somebody else to look at it, then it was a good idea. I'm working on retrying a claim on my back instead of going on an appeal. Is this better than going to appeal just one, especially as I'm going through the burn pit process, which I plan on submitting an additional claim? They found a degenerative disc on the exam, but said it was not service connected, even though I had been to the doctor while in receiving shots in my back while in service and prescribed ibuprofen for the pain. What can I do since it was while in, but LHI said it wasn't service connected? To me, it sounds ridiculous that they said it wasn't service connected, and you need to either keep trying or appeal. You can get a Nexus letter and try to go at it again, or get new evidence and try to go at it again, because it sounds like it doesn't make any sense that it was denied. Clearly, it occurred while in service if you were getting shots in your back in service and things like that. But keep trying. Whether you go for another claim, retrying a claim, or you go on the appeal route, the important part is that you don't give up. Keep trying, because you definitely have a valid claim. What I'm saying is either route is fine. One just might take longer than the other. Currently at 90%, all primary service-connected conditions, 70% MDD, 30% asthma, 30% migraines, 20% right shoulder, 10% dry eye syndrome, 10% GERD, 10% DJD, right knee, 0% left knee. Currently diagnosed through VA for sleep apnea with CPAP, severe insomnia, tinnitus, vertigo, restless leg syndrome, allergic rhinitis, sinusitis, and constipation. Insomnia, sinusitis, and rhinitis were diagnosed in the military multiple times. How do you think I should file all these? Do you think I need Nexus letters are needed? First of all, you don't need to file for insomnia unless you think your insomnia alone is going to get you to 100%. Because you're already rated for MDD, and they rate insomnia as a mental health condition too. You're just opening back up your depression claim if you file for insomnia, and you probably don't want to do that since you're already rated at 70%. So I would suggest that you leave the insomnia alone, unless you think it can get you to 100% by itself, because that's the next level higher than 70%. And it's really hard to get 100% rating. For sinusitis and rhinitis, it falls in the same category as asthma. And so they would also combine those things and just give you one rating. So for rhinitis, you can claim that secondary to the, you said you had, you were seen in the diagnosed in the military multiple times, and you could just apply for that as a regular claim. If you got 0% for your left knee, if your left knee causes you any pain, then I would put in for an increase in that ASAP, because the law says painful motion of a joint is entitled to at least the minimum compensable rating, which for the knee is 10%. So your knee should not be at 0% if it's painful. Tinnitus, I would just put it in. That's largely based on your MOS and things like that. Vertigo, you can claim secondary to headaches or something like that. Restless leg syndrome, you could claim it secondary to depression, and maybe the constipation too, or GERD, which I'm not sure affects it. I'm not a medical professional, but you have some options there. So some of the things you should file as primary, some of the things you should file as secondary, but get your claims in. I was given a disability rating for chronic, the U word, 20 years back, and have been going to all my associated appointments. I have recently noticed after checking my files online, it now states skin irritation. Will this change anything even though my condition remains the same? If so, how should I go about this matter? A name change doesn't mean anything. Anything in terms of your rating, it won't, everything will stay the same. Whether they call it sleep apnea or sleep disturbances or sleep trouble or sleep issues, you're going to get the same rating. And so the same way with skin conditions, whether they call it eczema or the word you used, or dermatitis, you're going to get the same rating for it. So you should not be concerned that they just changed the name. Now, if they changed the rating, that would be a different story. But that likely won't happen because it's been 20 years for you. And they can't change your rating after 20 years except for fraud. Can you work with someone in a different state? Yes, I can. And so can every other attorney, and agent and VSO. It's federal law, so you can work with anybody anywhere. So my thing is find you a good representative and use them, no matter where they're located. I'm service connected with tinnitus and doing a secondary claim for Meniere's disease, vertigo, and hearing. In reviewing my file, the VA said I had been diagnosed allergy triggered vertigo. I had never had allergies. Oh, then maybe you should just claim vertigo. That might be the way you want to go on that one. I received a letter from the VA saying the president has signed something authorizing an increase in our rating percentage. Could you further explain as to what that is really happening? So sometimes there's legislative changes that if they happen, that can net you a higher rating percentage. There's a couple different examples of that, none of them which really come to mind. But I know skin conditions is one of the body systems that they recently updated the ratings for. If you had a previous rating for something um, and then they changed it and you're eligible for a higher rating, the VA might send you a letter. If you're a Blue Water Navy veteran, you might have got a letter recently telling you you're eligible for benefits. So there's a number of different reasons why you might have gotten that letter. It just depends on the condition and whether the rating schedule has changed or some legislative change has occurred. So if the president signed something and they told you you're eligible for something higher, then they're probably going to give you that higher rating. It seems as if my claim will be decided even though we have not received my service medical records. I don't see how it be rated for much if they cannot prove that things started in service. If I cannot get service connected due to this reason, is the next step appeal or something less time consuming? If they don't have your service records when they make a decision and then you eventually get your service records, you can submit your service records along with a supplemental claim, which should take less time than a more formal appeal to the board or something like that. So there are ways to get it to take less time. You would just need new and relevant evidence to do that if it gets denied. My brother was denied disability for a shaving profile. He was in the Marines. Is there anything he can do when he has it started in his medical records that he has a medical condition that was caused by him shaving? He currently has a rating of 70%, but that's for his back. He may want to get a Nexus letter and try again to get an outside medical professional to say, or dermatologist to say that, hey, he still has this condition. It started in service and it's been consistent since service, and it's more likely than not due to service. That would be a way to reopen the claim, or he can try writing a personal statement and doing a supplemental claim to try to reopen the claim. I just received my C file. Does it only contain VA records, or will some of my military records be in there also? Military medical records. Oh, all of your military medical records should be in there. The claims file contains everything the VA has on you, not just VA treatment records. So your STR's service treatment record should definitely be in there. I'm rated for tinnitus and claiming Meniere's disease and vertigo as secondary. In reviewing VA previous claim, they said my vertigo is triggered through allergies. I never had allergies. How can I correct this on my record as I go forward with my claim? There is a process for amending medical records. If you search the group, I've posted it before. You basically just have to submit something in writing about why you dispute what you dispute in the medical record and ask the doctor to change it. And then it's in the hands of the doctor. It's up to them whether they change it or not. But there is a way to correct medical records. And if it's really important to you, you can go about doing that, or you could just claim vertigo, and it'll probably be processed the same way. I have a CMP exam through Zoom on Friday. Zoom? Interesting. I know they've usually been using doxy.me. Zoom on Friday. It is for my hearing and wondering if I have to wear my hearing aids. I normally don't wear them. Would it make a difference? No, you don't have to wear your hearing aids to the exam. Regulation says you can do the exam without the hearing aids. But I don't know why they were doing a hearing exam over telehealth. That doesn't make much sense. Is it for tinnitus or hearing loss? That might get changed eventually. Vietnam vet uncle, that is still waiting for records. What can I do to help build his claims? Get him to write, get a representative who can get his records probably much faster than you can, and help you with filing his claims. But you can also get him to write some statements about things that he remembers that were in his medical records, and things like that. If he served in Vietnam, boots on the ground, there are conditions that are presumptive to his service, which means he does not have to prove service connection. He just has to prove that he has them and he served in Vietnam. So if he has something like diabetes, then he would automatically qualify for benefits under Agent Orange. And so you definitely want to find out what his current conditions are, find out what the presumptive conditions are, and go from there. And make sure that he's still seeing a doctor, he's still being seen. If he hasn't been to the doctor in a while, get him to the doctor and get him complaining about the things that are wrong with him, so he has new medical records. I got a call today from QTC, and we went on and scheduled appointments for dental, TBI, psych, and a general appointment. What do I need to bring to the appointment, and what do I expect? So for dental, they're going to examine you dentally, ask you some questions, and you go from there. TBI is a little more involved. They're going to ask you a ton of questions, do some tests on you, like for headaches and different things. And ask you a lot of questions. That's what you should expect. Psych is the same way. They're going to ask you about your childhood, about your military life, about post-military life, what any legal problems, substance abuse problems, blah, blah, blah. What you want to make sure is that you're sure to talk about insomnia and migraines during your psych appointment. If the examiner doesn't bring it up, you bring it up. Talk about your sleep problems, talk about your head pain, and make sure that that point is gotten by the examiner in a general appointment. You don't have to bring anything to the appointments unless maybe you want to bring your medications, but you really don't have to take anything. And I've already told you what to expect, so hopefully that helps. For audiology, which I see you wrote here, they're just going to do a hearing test and possibly ask you some questions about your MOS. I retired out of the National Guard of 20 years with several medical issues. I filed for disability before retirement date and was diagnosed while on duty active. I've been turned down and now I'm in an appeal process. What are the chances of getting my medical issues service connected? What advice can you offer? They asked for proof of medical records, which was provided by my personal physician and which military authorized because I live 50 miles away from a military paid facility. This is a good question. What are the chances of getting my medical issue service connected? I think you have a good chance. I think you need to add some personal statements to the record, that you had these issues while you were active duty, that the VA authorized the personal physician because you live more than 50 miles away from a medical facility, and that these conditions were all happening while you were on service, and they've been consistent since service, and they're still current issues. So I think you have probably have a pretty good shot on appeal. I haven't reviewed your record, but from what you told me, if it happened in service and the only thing was they didn't have your private medical records, then you should have a good shot. Do you get a supplemental statement after the case after a BVA decision? Only if it's remanded by the BVA and then they deny it again will you get a supplemental statement of the case. So only if If the BVA denies it, then you're only going to get a BVA decision. If the BVA remands it, which means sends it back to the regional offices or original area of jurisdiction, then and then the regional office eventually denies it again, the regional office is going to write you a supplemental statement of the case. So it sounds like you're still in the legacy system, and you don't have to worry about a statement of the case unless they deny it again. The regional office denies it again. My husband was denied claim for his back years ago and lately got the CMP documents and found the examiner stated he couldn't have an accident because he wasn't a truck driver. His last DD 214 showed the transfer to 471 transportation and certification for training on the trucks. Can this be considered a queue with a supplemental claim? He just had surgery in July for his back. I would try a higher level review. If you're in the AMA system, the new modernized appeal system, I would try a higher level review and just point out the error of fact that the examiner made an error in saying that he did not drive trucks when his records clearly showed that he was a truck driver. I might try that way instead of a QR supplemental claim first. Can I get rated for sleep apnea even though my diagnosis is only through a private doctor, not through the VA? Yes, you can. I was just service connected for a rash at 0% and believe I should have a higher rating. How do I go about getting it reevaluated? You just put in for an increase. You put in for an increase and they will reevaluate that. You want to check the rating schedule and make sure you meet the criteria for an increase though, and then go from there. I was denied for knee pain secondary to plantar fasciitis. What would be the best appeal route to take to appeal the decision? During my CMP exam, the examiner asked me what my current rating is. Is this common? I don't know of many exams where they ask about your current rating because it's usually stated in the exam request from the VA. But if you don't have any new evidence to offer, first of all, you want to get the CMP exam and see exactly what the examiner said and what was their rationale for denying it. If you feel that was insufficient or inadequate, you might want to ask for a higher level review. If not, then you might want to try the board, or you can get a Nexus letter and take it back through a supplemental claim. So you have lots of options. I can't tell you specifically what the best route is to take without reviewing your file, but you do have some options there in trying to get that service connected. The medical records from Desert Storm cannot be located. What can we do? Oh boy. I would try to ask them again to look for them. Then if they can't find them again, I would try to recreate the events through a personal statement. So this is what happened to me when I was here, or something like that. Would a doctor write a Nexus letter for sleep apnea? Yes, there are lots of them that will do it. There are also lots of them that won't do it. So make sure you find a doctor that will. In our group, there is a list of doctors who do Nexus letters. Try starting there. I was out 5 years before I filed, now 100% PNT. Congratulations. This is a testimony that it doesn't matter how long you're out, just file your claim. The VA initially denied my bilateral flat feet because of it being a pre-existing condition. I did 13 years on active duty. Since getting out, I have surgery on one foot, other foot pending, and given custom orthotics by the VA. I also have to wear compression daily because my feet and ankles swell daily without them. I found on 2 occasions in my military record that I showed I complained about my feet was put on a no boots profile for weeks. I have copies. Should I try submitting? Yes, you should probably try a supplemental claim with your new records from surgery and from the VA. I'm assuming that's what the rest of your question is asking. I can't really see the rest of it. Yes, you should try submitting the supplemental claim. I just saw the rest of your question. Can you get rated for ankle pain secondary to plantar fasciitis? Yes, you can. I've seen it many times. My claim is at the Board of Veterans Appeals. It said a judge's review of my claim. It's been a few weeks now. How much more time does it take for a decision? Oh, you're looking at months, probably. Probably a few 3 to 4, 5 months for a decision. It could stay at the judge for a while, and then they send it back to a staff attorney to finish the decision that it has to get sent out to you. So it could be another few months. I had back surgery in 2019. I've had back issues for a very long time, since around the mid-90s, and there are bits and pieces in my active duty medical records. My surgery was after service, and my neurosurgeon provided a ton of information to submit to VA, as well as a completed DBQ and Nexus. I was denied. Everything is in appeals. Been waiting for a hearing for about 16 months now. Everything was well documented, and should be rated and service connected. I don't get how some get approved. I can't see the rest of your question, but I'm sorry that you've been waiting that long on appeal. It sounds like it definitely should be service connected, that you have enough evidence to get service connected, and you probably will win your appeal. If you don't win your appeal at the board, keep going, take it to the court. That's my best advice. But some people are able to get it service connected off the bat and with little evidence. It just all depends on the examiner you get. A lot of things depend on the examiner you get for an examination. There are good examiners, there are bad examiners. There are some examiners that just say no to everybody and everything, and they should not be working for the VA or a contractor. But there are other examiners who are compassionate and concerned and advocates for veterans. And so hopefully the BVA grants your claim. My husband had to have major surgery in his inner ear because VA harmed him during a procedure. He filed a 1151 for ear condition, vertigo secondary to ear condition, and tongue numbness. It has gotten worse since he filed. He goes in a few weeks for a CMP exam for hearing and tinnitus. What should he expect? He should expect a hearing exam and then to ask him about the tinnitus and where it came from. And he needs to clearly explain what went on with him during the procedure. If he knows what went wrong, explain that to the examiner, and that he has had hearing problems ever since. Filed for increase in supplemental claim, August 2019. I had CMP for both in December 2019. VA keeps saying I need CMP exam. They might need a clarification on your exam. December 2019. They might need it. The first exam might have been inadequate for some reason, and for some reason they need a second exam. But that's a long time that you've been waiting. I mean, almost a year, over a year actually. And you should get a representative to look into that, to make some noise at the VA. That's way too long to be waiting for a claim these days. Do you think I should file for TBI from rocket blast that happened in 2015? Blast has been in my documents through VA, and is there a stipulation when an occurrence happened and being able to file. No, there is no stipulation, and yes, you should file. Can a static rating be lowered? This is an interesting question because technically, I suppose it's not supposed to be because it's not intended for improvement. But if you open the condition back up, like if you're rated 50% for headaches and it's static and you go and put in for an increase and you get reevaluated, they can lower you to 30% based on the examination. So sometimes you don't want to touch things if you're on the maximum rating and it's static. Can I file a claim and a secondary claim at the same time? Yes, you can. My husband has 30% bilateral chronic compartment syndrome of the calf's lower leg. His VSO recommended not to file for plantar fasciitis of the feet or fasciitis of the knees and hips because it could open up his compartment syndrome claim. VSO seemed to think that he could get lowered and it wasn't worth the risk. What do you think? Should he be apprehensive to connect secondary conditions out of fear of losing his rating? I would disagree with I have not reviewed your file, but I would disagree with the VSO on the feet and the hips. The knees might be rated as the same way as the compartment syndrome because it's of the calves and lower legs. It's just like shin splints. They either rate shin splints as a knee issue or ankle issue. So you need to find out what the diagnostic code is for the bilateral compartment syndrome. And then if it's the ankles, if they rate it as an ankle condition, then you're okay to claim the knees. But if they rate it as a knee condition, then it would be pyramiding to get another knee condition. And so I think you're fine with the feet and the hips, but you need to find out what the compartment syndrome diagnostic code is and make sure that you're not double coding. The way to get your diagnostic code is to look at your rating code sheet. Your VSO should have a copy of that they can give you. Ask for that code sheet and then look up the codes and go from there. I just had an MRI on both knees. They stated I am loose cartilage in both of them, and that's what's been giving me pain. Can I file a secondary claim to my lower back and ankles? If so, what would be their rating? So yes, you can file a claim secondary to your back and ankles. What it will be rated, it depends on the examination that you get and what level the examiner puts you at, but it's all dependent on your range of motion and pain. So if it's painful, then you're entitled to the least compensable rating if the examiner says it's service connected, and then it goes up from there based on your range of motion. I have noticed that some of my doctors are not documenting what I'm telling them when it comes to my complaints, and I'm able to request to be seen by another doctor. You surely are, and you should be if they're not documenting your concerns. What is the next thing to do if you are denied after an appeal? I had a virtual hearing in September this year and awaiting a response. What time frame am I looking at for a decision to be made? I submitted a letter for hardship consideration, but nothing yet. If you're denied after an appeal, then you should go to the Court of Veterans Appeals. I can't tell you how many veterans, it's a 120-day window after they issue a board decision that you have to find a lawyer and take your claim to the Court of Veterans Appeals. I can't tell you how many veterans miss that time frame, but it's very important because I don't want to say things get easier at the court, but they are likely to point out some error that the board made and remand it to the board or come to an agreement with your lawyer on what should be done in your case or kind of settle the case. But if after a hearing, you could still be looking at another 6 to 8 months. That doesn't necessarily speed things up. But did you file a motion for advancement on the docket? That's what you would have to have filed in order to get advanced on the docket because of hardship. So make sure that you filed a motion. If what I'm talking about sounds foreign to you, please get some help, seek some help in your claim and your appeal? My husband just got approved for his migraines, 50% secondary to his sleep apnea and tinnitus. Wanted to find out if it's static or not. It put him at 100%. Do you think it will be static since all his other disabilities are static and the two disabilities that the migraines are secondary to static are well? It's probably static, but the way you find out is by getting his rating code sheet. You can get that from his VSO or request it from the VA, or you could call the VA and ask them if it's static, um, and go from there. Sorry, I have been service connected for 15 years and put in for an increase. How have they been seen and treated at the VA? Put in for night blindness. They did a CMP in December 2009. I had contacted the White House and told the VA that I need to have CMP exams. They changed the date from August 2019 to July 2020. Why would they do that? That sounds like an error. You might want to contest that date. What is a static disability? Static means it's not intended to improve. That there's the rater didn't think there was any chance for improvement, and so they rated it as static rather than scheduling it for a reevaluation in 3 to 5 years. Right, that's the definition. Monday and Tuesday consecutively telehealth from QTC for PTSD and then for MST PTSD. Sadly, LHI doctor was unaware that veteran is bedridden and the record's in early stages of dementia. Now awaiting decision as I'm praying my husband lives to see justice on his claim. The VA system must be completely restructured as the system is completely unacceptable. Yes, it's unacceptable in some situations. The examiner should have been aware that he bedridden. Apparently, they did not review the records, and that's unacceptable. I will submit a statement saying that the examiner was unaware and possibly requesting a new exam. But I mean, I guess you need to find out what those exam results are first. So, if possible, get a representative to look up those exam results for you. Yes, I did file a motion on the docket. That's awesome. I currently have a 10% rating for GERD as a primary condition. Since the rating, I have had surgery and the symptoms have returned even worse. Severe heartburn, regurgitation through mouth and nose. I have a hiatal hernia, taking medication daily, and the VA is sending me to another specialist because I lost over 25 pounds in 2 months. Oh, wow. Should I bother to file for increase since most veterans are only getting 20%? You should definitely file for increase. It sounds like you should be at the 30% level, if not higher, 60%. So definitely file for increase on that ASAP, like tonight. Have you seen static for migraines before on a secondary basis? Yes, I have. Many times, many times. Okay, folks, so that looks like all the questions for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful rest of the holiday season. I'll probably see you again before the holidays are over, but just in case, have a wonderful holiday season.